I remember the strangely joyous, lilting quality of it, as though you and a friend had been searching diligently for something and he had suddenly stumbled upon it. Hey! I wheeled to my left. The drunk spun to his right. We both stared down at a little old Japanese man. He must have been well into his 70s, this tiny gentleman, sitting there immaculate in his kimono. He took no notice of me, but he beamed delightedly at the laborer. "Come here," the old man said in an easy vernacular, beckoning to the drunk. "Come here and talk with me." The big man followed as if on a string. "Why the hell should I talk to you?" The drunk now had his back to me. The old man continued to beam at the laborer. "What you been drinking?" he asked, his eyes sparkling with interest. "I've been drinking sake," the laborer bellowed back, "and it's none of your business." "Oh, that's wonderful," the old man said. "Absolutely wonderful. You see, I love sake too. Every night, me and my wife, she's 76, you know, we warm up a little bottle of sake and we take it out into the garden and we sit on an old wooden bench. We watch the sun go down and we look to see how our persimmon tree is doing." He looked at the laborer with his eyes twinkling. As he struggled to follow the old man's conversation, the drunk's face began to soften. His fist slowly unclenched. "Yeah, I love persimmon too." His voice trailed off. "Yes," said the old man, smiling, "and I'm sure you have a wonderful wife." "No," replied the laborer, "my wife died." Very gently, swaying with the motion of the train, the big man began to sob. "I don't got no wife. I don't got no home. I don't got no job. I'm so ashamed of myself." Tears rolled down his cheeks. A spasm of despair rippled through his body. Then the train arrived at my stop. As the doors opened, I heard the old man cluck sympathetically. My, he said, "that is a difficult predicament indeed. Sit down here and tell me about it." I turned my head for one last look. The laborer was sprawled on the seat, his head on the old man's lap. The old man was softly stroking the filthy, matted hair. As the train pulled away, I sat down on a bench. What I had wanted to do with muscle had been accomplished with kind words. I had just seen Aikido tried in combat, and the essence of it was love. Thank you, Terry Dobson. So let us join together in singing hymn 159, "This Is My Song." It is my personal campaign to change "This Is My Song" to our national anthem. I like it better than bombs bursting in air. Amen. Please be seated. It is very nice to be here with you all. I will say that first. Over the years, I have preached here probably half a dozen times. I'm usually asked to speak about some specific topic, like my 3-month trip down to the South, about the Poor People's Campaign. I even did an Easter service here, which is a good challenge to do in a UU church. But when Kate Mason asked me for my title for this sermon, I was on vacation, and I was not really thinking at all about a church service or any topic. She suggested I do something less political and more spiritual, something a little more soothing. The words that came to me when she asked for a title was heart work. I'm taking a 6-week meditation class, and I remembered the teacher talking about heart work, so I think that's where I must have gotten the phrase. But I listened again to all the recordings of the classes so far, and I never heard him talk about heart work. So I looked it up. And what I found was just definitions of how our heart, our organ works, the ventricles, the arteries, things like that. So I figured I was on my own to work and talk about heart work. And it's been a good journey for me. I came across this wonderful story of the Japanese gentleman and the drunk on the train. We spend so much time in our heads. The brain takes up 2.5% of our body mass and uses 25% of its energy, which reminds me a little bit of the statistics around the United States and our proportion of the world and the percentage of energy that we use. It's very similar. We use our minds for everything. We figure things out. We form opinions about everything we encounter. We worry about what happened and what might happen. One statistic I found was that we spend 47% of our waking hours thinking about something other than what we are doing. That's our wandering minds. We have some 60,000 to 80,000 thoughts per day, which is 2,500 to 3,000 thoughts per hour. I read something that Dale Carnegie said. I would never think the day would come when I'd quote Dale Carnegie, but Dale Carnegie in his 1936 self-help book, How to Win Friends and Influence People, said that when we are not engaged in thinking about a particular problem, we usually spend about 95% of our time thinking about ourselves. How boring. And no wonder the mind uses so much energy. So in talking about this, I just want to clarify, when I say mind, I'm kind of using it interchangeably with brain, mind and brain, and that is mind with a small m, because I think there is something much larger that has its own kind of energetic field that is mind with a capital M. In the Taoist tradition, they talk about mind with a capital M as head, heart, and gut. But in this case, I'm using mind and brain interchangeably, the brain and its activities. So let me give a few examples of heart work. I was in a group when a woman told a story about being at a party and talking with someone she didn't really know. And she was listening in the way that we often listen, which is partially listening, partially paying attention to what else is going on, partially thinking about what we're going to say when it's our turn. And then all of a sudden she said, "What did you say?" And she realized that this woman had just told her that her son had just recently died. And this woman, when she heard that, she said her whole body shifted. She literally felt her energy go from her mind, her brain, down to her heart. And it was only when it moved there that could she really hear this woman speak and be with her. Here's another example of heart work that is a little more esoteric. There is a tradition in mystical Hasidic Judaism called Zadakim Nistarim, or Lamed Vav Zadakim, which means Lamed Vav is 36, hidden righteous ones. According to this teaching, there are 36 righteous people whose role in life is to justify the purpose of humankind in the eyes of God. To justify the purpose of humankind in the eyes of God. Their identities are unknown and they are indistinguishable from the rest of us mortals. But if just one of them were lacking, the world's suffering would be unbearable. I'm reading a book by writer Andre Schwartz-Bart that said the Lamed Vavniks, the 36, are the heart of the world, and into them, as into one receptacle, pour all our griefs. Their work, the work of the Lamed Vavniks, is the ultimate heart work, and it is hard work. Here's another example from Poet Laureate Joy Harjo. Her poem is entitled, "This Morning I Pray for My Enemies." This morning I pray for my enemies. And whom do I call my enemy? An enemy must be worthy of engagement. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It's the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing, even as it hears the blessing. The door to the mind should only open from the heart. An enemy who gets in risks the danger of becoming a friend. Shall I read that again? I know for me, sometimes it helps to hear a poem a second time. I'm seeing a few heads. This morning I pray for my enemies. And whom do I call an enemy? An enemy must be worthy of engagement. I turn in the direction of the sun and keep walking. It's the heart that asks the question, not my furious mind. The heart is the smaller cousin of the sun. It sees and knows everything. It hears the gnashing even as it hears the blessing. The door to the mind should only open from the heart. An enemy who gets in risks the danger of becoming a friend. So what is the work of the heart? The heart and the mind work in such different ways. The mind is divisive. It divides, it separates, it categorizes, where the heart brings things together. The heart combines, it finds commonalities, it seeks connection. There's always new information. Every day, almost every moment, the mind is busy grasping what happened while the heart grasps the value and the meaning of what happened. The heart makes us more human, more compassionate, more caring. The heart is a place to experience wonder. I don't think it's possible maybe to experience wonder just from our heads and our brains. That's the role of the heart. The heart is the place where our tears reside, especially our tears for others and for this wounded world we live in. Whenever I think about the pain of the world, the loss of land, the loss of creatures, the horrible ways we treat other people who are different than we are, and I begin to cry, I know that I am doing a good thing. If I stay in my head, I can look at almost anything and then go on with my life. But if I allow myself to feel the world's pain, then I have touched my heart, and then my heart can help guide me in how to respond. The head tries to explain the world, but the world as it is makes no heart sense. Petting a cat makes heart sense. Watching a sunset makes heart sense. Caring for others makes heart sense. But what is happening in this country, the divisions, the lack of common concern, that is not the work of hearts. No one moving from their heart would separate children from their parents. No one moving from their heart would send drones over to another country to bomb and kill. No one moving from their hearts would injure, insult someone just because they looked different or worshiped in some different way. That is not the work of our hearts. That makes no heart sense. So imagine a world controlled by our hearts instead of by our thinking or non-thinking brains. Imagine a world where our instincts were to see commonalities and to connect with others. Mahatma Gandhi offers us his optimistic version of the principle of heart work, which he calls the force of truth or the force of love, satyagraha. The greatest and the most unimpeachable evidence of the success of this force of love is found in the fact that despite wars in the world, this love force still lives on. Little quarrels in millions of families disappear before this exercise of the love force. Hundreds of nations still live in peace. History does not and cannot take note of this fact. The real story of this world is the story of the love force, Gandhi says. History is really just a record of every interruption of the ongoing work of this force of love. That is to say, to us still today, we don't read about the love force. What we read about is the interruptions of that love force. So I want to take just a few minutes to listen to our hearts, because part of what needs to happen is we need to use less words. I need to use less words. I need to connect somewhere else, as do we all. So I want to just take a few minutes. I'm not a meditation teacher. I'm not going to lead you in a long meditation, but just ask you to just tune in for a moment to your hearts. You can close your eyes if you feel comfortable. You can put your hands over your heart if you feel comfortable, or just sit there quietly and breathe. And remember your breathing. And breathe into your heart. Feel the breath go directly to where you feel your heart is. Let your thoughts come and go, and breathe back into your heart. And listen. For your heart is wise. Every single one of us has heart work to do. And no one else can tell us what that work is, only we know. But there is one thing I know, and that is the world needs your heart. The world needs our hearts. Amen. As we finish up our service, please remember to keep breathing. You will breathe whether you pay attention or not, but it's different when you pay attention. So let us sing together hymn 123, The Spirit of Life by Carolyn McDade.
Kate, thank you so much for that sermon. Are your hearts happy for all that attention and support? Now's the time in our service for sharing joys and sorrows. If you have a sorrow that needs help from this community to carry it, or a joy so great you must share it, now is the time. I'm going to come around with a microphone for those of you who would like to share. So just indicate by raising your hand. But if you'd rather just make a prayer in silence, there are candles on both of the windowsills. You can simply go up and light a candle from the flame there. If you're sharing with the congregation, please note it's not a time for personal or political announcements. We care for each other by being true to the purpose of this time. We also care for each other by our brevity. There will be okay, that's it. So let me.
What about visitors? Should they introduce themselves?
Oh, yes, I'm sorry, thank you. See, we need a little help from our friends. If anyone is here for the first time, and we would like you to introduce yourself so we can welcome you. And we'd also like you to sign the guest book out in the lobby so we can be in touch with you.
So if you were here last week or sitting in last week, you know that we thanked people who helped put on the program at the Energy Park. And one person who was not here is Kate Stevens, who led the Interfaith Council presentation. And it has a major theme, and I hope Kate will tell us what it is, because it's so meaningful. And the whole team of people at the Interfaith Council developed it, including Sandra, Kate Mason, people who were here today. But it is a really central theme that makes a great deal of difference to our heart work as we try to do our climate work. So we're building mind and body at the same time. And I'm really grateful to Kate and the whole group of you who've been working on it, and it's I feel like I'm in tears half the time. Yeah. And also a shout of encouragement to people who are suffering from sickness and so on here. I don't know. So it's up to you to speak for yourself, but blessings on you all.
Hi, I'm Rob. I'd like to light a candle of concern for my sister Wendy, who's still dealing with breast surgery problems, and also for Rebecca Tippins, who used to be the owner of the Roundhouse, really the guiding light of the solstice benefit concerts that have been going on for many decades. Becky had both knees operated on and is recovering at Charlemont Manor. And lastly, a candle of joy to be here with all of you, to be able to sing, and to you, Kate, because while I agree that this is our song, would be a great national anthem, I'd also like to put in a nomination for Annie's Rise Up and Show the World You're Caring. And lastly, George Gershwin parody, forgive me, Ira, heart work if you can get it, and you can get it if you cry.
I've just been reminded to wear a mask.
My name is Andrew Baker, and I just wanted to kind of share a general joy of the season, that I've just been kind of overwhelmed by this beauty of the weather we've been having and skies and the changing of the weather, and having evenings with my aunt and walks with my children, and it's just been something that's just reminds us of what a gift we have, you know.
I'm Robin. Beings are numberless. I vow to free them. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Reality is boundless. I vow to embody it. The enlightened way is unsurpassable. I vow to embody it. Delusions are inexhaustible. I vow to transform them. Beings are numberless. I vow to embody them.
My name is Molly Chambers, and it's been a joy these past weeks working with people from different groups around Franklin County to get ready for our Anti-Racism Film Festival next Sunday. Again, a joy to work with others in collaboration.
Morning, everybody. Church, I'm Annie. There's just so many things that are coming to me. Robin, I thank you for your sharing. I actually had a dream about you last night, about your travels, that you traveled the world. And I remember that I asked you to bring me back something, some little thing. And I remember you carried this little Buddha, I know you don't remember, and I have it on my desk in my bedroom. And just the thoughtfulness and kindness. I'm also thinking about, we had a gathering up on Woman Hill. A lot of people were working on Wally and Juanita's place. Such a great group of people. And thinking about the people who've put themselves on the line selflessly. Randy Kaler and Betsy and so many. You know who they are here if you've lived here. There's too many to count. A joy for Rob, who's always there on Saturday mornings most of the time with his little flute or piccolo, just wanting to do nothing but do a little song and upliftment for other people. I know there are a few things that I'm missing. A joy for my brother's new grandson, Phineas, 4-month-old Phineas. He's so great, so grateful for him. And Kate, thank you so much. They say the longest walk is from your head to your heart. I'm so glad to be brought back to that time and time again. I see you in your life doing that all over, and I'm really grateful. And I think that's it. So thank you very much. I'm grateful to be here.
And the people who are joining us on Zoom, we have a special light a candle of joy for Kate Mason from Jim, who's been so patient taking care of me while I've been temporarily on crutches. Gary Pausner says, the joy is having the opportunity to sing with friends safely outdoors around a campfire 3 weeks in a row. And Gary's concern is my son, Jonah, had emergency surgery recently, not life-threatening, followed by a number of repeat visits to the ER. He's finally recovering. And his second concern is his father-in-law's health isn't great, although he's charging ahead regardless. It isn't going to get better, so we're hoping it reaches a long plateau. Thank you all online for joining us. And I'd just like to have a concern for Kit Johnson, Dr. Kit Johnson, a longtime Unitarian Universalist musician who's retired up here to Amherst, but he had a detached retina this week and had to go into surgery. So that's why I'm doing he's probably better at sight reading with a detached retina than I am with both eyes working, but we'll leave that alone.
pages.
Hi, I'm Kate Mason, and I want to light a candle for Mel and Jennifer Lawrence, who got back from their cross-country trip visiting with family. They just got back, I think, on Thursday evening. And Jennifer's kind of jumped right into caring for her mom, Nancy Buchanan, who is on hospice at this point. So, candle for Nancy.
I talked to Lori out in Washington yesterday on the phone, and I just want to light a candle for her as she grieves Sadie's departure, her beloved dog, and the loneliness that she's feeling in the mountains of Washington. She said it snowed 3 times already. So, and I just, this is not a political announcement, but I want to light a candle for the future of democracy in this country, which is going to be voted on this coming week. So I want to just hold in the light all our servants in Congress, who the future of our country is in their hands.
Pam told me I should say something in the prayer time. I just want to say that the direction for the Interfaith Council this year came out of our own wrestling with where we should go, given everything that's going on in the world and the amount of pain. And we ended up just singing a song and talking about the idea that we are not alone. I am not alone. You are not alone. We are not alone. So that's the theme we're trying to hold in our hearts. Let us go forth from this place, carrying with us the joy and love and concerns and sorrow in our hearts, that we may go out into the world to love and serve this earth and one another. Amen.
Amen.